Welcome everyone, I'm Mr. Eves and today we're going to be talking about multiplying and dividing by powers of 10. Now just a quick little reminder that you can subscribe to my YouTube channel on The Mr. Eves on YouTube. So type in The Mr. Eves and subscribe and you can follow my videos. So let's go ahead and start off. A couple key things. So multiplying by powers of 10, multiplying by whole numbers powers of 10, move the decimal point one place to the right, so that's a key right there, move it to the right, for each zero, and the whole number power of 10. So we notice that we have two zeros here, 1, 2, and so that means we're going to move our decimal 2 to the right, 1, 2. So pretty slick, pretty easy. This is an easy way. Now if you don't know how to do that, just multiply like normal, and you'll be okay. But this is a quick and easy way for you to solve it. The next thing is dividing by powers of 10. Now it says dividing by whole number powers of 10, move the decimal point 1 point to the left for each zero. So key word right here is left. So we're going to move 1 point to the left for each zero and the whole number power of 10. So we have 35 divided by 100. There's two zeros behind the 100, and so we're going to move it over to the left. 1. So we start here and go 1, 2. And there we go, we get 35 hundredths. A couple key things that you want to remember though is when writing zeros, when you move the decimal point to the right or left, you may need to write zeros in as a placeholder. So just remember that, and we'll kind of show some examples there. So let's move on. So our worksheet today is a riddle. And it says, to whom did the famous chef write letters every week? And then it says, multiply mentally. Write your answer and then mark it in the answer column for each set of exercises. There is one extra answer. Write the letter of this answer in the corresponding box at the right. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to match up these right here with the correct answer over here, and whatever's left over is what we're going to put in the box. So let's start off, and we have how many zeros? Well, there's 1 0. Oh, don't let me forget, but remember, let's just put a little side note on our worksheet that when we multiply, we move the decimal to the right. And so that's just a little side note. Now to start off, we know that we need to move it one spot because it's 10 and then there's only 1 0. So I'm going to move my decimal one spot, and I'm going to rewrite my decimal as 3.78 to show my work. And this is how I'd like you to do it on the worksheet. And so I move it 1 to the right, and that gives me 37.8. Well, I come over here and find it, 37.8, which is L, and I cross it off. Then I move to the next one. Once again, we move it one spot. I rewrite the 0.378, and I move over one spot to the right. And that gives me 3.78, which is A. Cross it off. So you see how quick I'm doing this. It's really fast and really straightforward. All you got to do is count the zeros. 1, 2. Rewrite the number that's not 100 or 10, which is the 3.78, and move it over 2 spots, and that gives us 378, which is V. Cross it off. Now, the letter that's left over, P, is what we're going to put up in our answer box up at the top of the worksheet. So that's number 1. I wanted to show number 8 because it's a little bit different because we have 3 numbers. We have 0.3, 0.9, and 10. And it's not that much different because it's pretty straightforward. Remember, when we multiply decimals, we just count how many numbers are behind it. So 2 spots behind the total. So we have 1 behind the 3 and 1 behind the 9, a total of 2. And then I just forget about them. We go 3 times 9 is 27. Then I'm going to move it over 2 spots, and that gives me 0.27. So I'm going to replace that with 0.27. Now it looks exactly the same thing as this. We have 0.27 and times 10. So I go through the process, count the zeros. There's 1 0. Rewrite 0.27 and move it over one spot, so that gives me 2.7. Go ahead and cross it off. And we're ready to go. Let's move on to the next one. Well, because they're all the same, 0.3, 0.9, 0.3, 0.9, I know that they're all going to be 0.27, so I'm going to just replace that. Count my zeros, there's 2 of them, rewrite 0.27, and move it over 2 spots, and that gives me 27, which is D. Now the last one, once again, I'm going to cross off the 0.3 and 0.9 and replace it with 0.27. And I'm going to move it 3 spots. So I move it over 3 spots. And you notice this is the case when we have to add a 0 because there's nothing there. There's no placeholder. So I add a 0, and that gives me 270. Cross that off. I'm left with the P, and so I'll put another P up at the top in my answer key. So that's with multiplying. Let's go ahead and move on to dividing. And so it says, what do you call a telephone for lizards? It says divide mentally, write your answer, and then mark it in the answer column. For each set of the exercise, there's 1 extra answer. Write the letter of this answer in the corresponding box at the right. So now we're dealing with division. And just a quick side note, when we divide, we're going to move the decimal to the left. So multiplication, on the front side of that worksheet, you're going to move it to the right, and on the back side, you're going to move it to the left. So I go ahead and move it to the left, and I go ahead and cross it off. So we count the zeros. There's 1 0, rewrite the number. 1 0, and I'm going to move it to the left 1 spot, so now I have 3.27. Go ahead and cross off L. It's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. How many spots am I going to move it on this second one? Well, there's 2 zeros, and so I'm going to move it 2 spots. Rewrite 32.7 and move it 2 spots to the left because we're dividing. And there we go, 0.327, which is the letter B. And then finally, we have 3 spots for this bottom one. Rewrite 32.7, move it 3 spots. And you notice right here, I have to add a placeholder, and I'm going to write a 0 in for that placeholder. So I put a 0 there, and that gives me 0.0327, which is G. The last one, we move it 1 spot, and I rewrite 327 as 327 and move it up. Now notice, there's no decimal on this number, and some of you are like, there's no decimal, there's no decimal. Well, don't worry. Decimals are always at the end of every number. It doesn't matter what number we have, as long as it's a whole number, it's at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and put that decimal there, even though it wasn't shown, because we know it's at there. It's right after the ones place. And then I'm going to move it over 1 spot, and that gives me a total of 32.7, which is O. Cross it off, and I circle D and put that off to the answer on the right. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to kind of show you a couple quick things. So we have 32.7, and this is another way that you could write it, and you're going to see this on the worksheet. You see it written like that. So these two things, they're the same. It doesn't matter how we write them, they're the same. And also another way that we can write division is also like this. So these 3 things are exactly the same, and basically when they write them like this, it means this over here. So 32.7 divided by 100, just because they wrote it in long division, is still the same. So on the worksheet, when you see this, don't freak out. Just think, oh, it's exactly the same. I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial brought to you by Mr. Eves. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Mr. Eves. Also, if you have any questions on homework, go onto my website, MrEves.com, and go to the Help tab. So once again, visit my website, Mr. Eves. Oh, that is beautiful. .com. So go ahead and visit that, and we'll see you next week.